She was his spoiled, lazy little bird. And even when the accident left billionaire CEO Damian Sterling paralyzed from the waist down, Avery Sinclair didn't fly away. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and money. Damian lay motionless under the stark white lights, his devastatingly handsome face drained of color, his knuckles white where they gripped the sheet. Through the glass, Avery watched him like he was still belonged to her. His mother, Victoria Sterling, glided in wearing head-to-toe Chanel, diamonds flashing at her throat. She slid a check across the marble side table. 10 figures. $10 billion. Password Avery's birthday. Take it and disappear from my son's life, Victoria said, voice dripping disdain. Your little transaction is over. Avery stared at the numbers long enough to memorize them. Enough to buy half of Manhattan. Enough to never lift a finger again. Her phone buzzed wildly in her pocket, her best friend screaming through the speaker the second she picked up. 10 billion? Girl, run. You'll never have to work. Never have to spread your legs for another rich asshole again. Avery's gaze drifted back to the man in the bed. She thought about packing, about sorting the endless rows of Hermes and Cartier he'd showered her with, about learning a new man's moods, his kinks, his favorite perfume on her skin. The mere idea made her bones ache with exhaustion. She was a professional canary. Being adored was her only job, and she was damn good at it. So she picked up the check, ignored Victoria's triumphant smirk, and tore it in half. Then in quarters. Then into snow. The pieces fluttered into the trash like white confetti. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish. You're insane. Avery yawned, rubbed the sleep from her eyes. Breaking up is too much work, Auntie. I'm lazy. He'll just have to deal. She pushed past the furious woman, walked straight into the private suite, climbed onto the narrow hospital bed, and curled against Damian's numb body the way she had 1,000 nights before. I'm not leaving, she whispered against his throat. You'll keep feeding me, spoiled little wife that I am. Get used to it, baby. His jaw clenched so hard she heard it. Look at me, Avery. I can't even feel my own legs. How am I supposed to keep you in private jets and penthouses now? She shrugged, tucked her head under his chin. Then I'll sit in the wheelchair with you. I hate walking anyway. Behind them, Victoria cursed loud enough to rattle the four stand, then stormed out. She's mine. Even broken, even useless, she's mine. No one takes her from me. Not even me. 2 days later, Damian came home to his sprawling Manhattan penthouse overlooking Central Park. Victoria had fired every maid, every driver, every chef, frozen every credit card. The 78th floor echoed like a tomb. Avery ordered porridge on an app for the first time in her life. Congee for her, seafood for him. When the delivery guy called, she was sweating, trying to drag Damian's deadweight legs from wheelchair to dining chair. He never spoke, just stared out at the city he used to own. She pushed the steaming bowl in front of him and started eating hers. He didn't move. Open, she said, blowing on a spoonful, holding it to his lips like she'd done it forever. He turned his face away, pride bleeding from every pore. I don't eat charity. Avery set the spoon down with a clink. Charity? I sold 2 of your Ming vases for 200 grand this morning, Mr. CEO. Dinner's on me. Now open, or I'll sit on your lap and feed you like a baby. Something feral flashed in his storm gray eyes. Slowly, hatefully, he opened his mouth. She fed him bite by bite while he watched her like she was both salvation and damnation. Mine. Every spoonful she feeds me carves her name deeper into my soul. That night she wrestled with the 12-head rain shower until she accidentally hosed him like a car wash. He sat silent, water streaming down the ridged muscles of his chest that still worked, jaw locked, letting her strip him, dry him, haul him into bed. When she collapsed beside him, panting, he finally spoke into the dark. You'll regret this. She burrowed closer to the heat of his upper body. Too much paperwork to regret anything. Night, husband. His hand found her hair, fingers trembling. Foolish little wife. The next morning, the proper woman arrived. Dr. Stella Harrington, Harvard Medical, Sterling family-approved fiancée in waiting. Walked in wearing crisp white, carrying a medical bag and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. She completely ignored Avery crunching chips on the Italian leather sofa. "Damien, darling, I'm here to get you walking again." Avery kept eating. Crunch. Crunch. Stella knelt, hands sliding up Damien's thigh with clinical intimacy that felt anything but. Avery's chest tightened. That thigh had been her personal pillow for 2 years. "Miss Jong," Stella said sweetly, "caring for a patient this severe really requires professional training. Why don't you rest? I'll take over from here." Before Avery could yawn out a reply, Damien's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Get out." Stella froze. "Damien, I flew back from Boston." "I said get out." He turned the wheelchair himself back to her, dismissing the saint completely. Avery stood, brushed chip crumbs off her silk camisole, and opened the front door with exaggerated politeness. "Bye, Doc." The door shut. Silence. Damien stared at Avery across the marble expanse, something unreadable burning in his eyes. Then he reached out, yanked her into his lap, and crushed her against his chest hard enough to steal her breath. "You're not going anywhere," he growled against her ear. "Not ever. You're mine, baby girl. Mine to keep, mine to ruin." From that moment, the dead man inside him woke up that he started rehab with demonic focus. 6 hours a day of torture, parallel bars, electrical stimulation, ice baths, blood, sweat, screamed curses. Stella came back because Victoria paid her, but Damien only let her touch him if Avery was in the room, watching possessively from the chaise with her noise-canceling headphones half on. Some afternoons he collapsed. Once he fell hard, smashing his fist into the marble until it bled, roaring that he was useless, broken, worthless. Stella fluttered and cried and tried to hold him. Avery walked over, crouched, and flicked his forehead. "Stop throwing a tantrum. You're ruining my nap." Stella shrieked about compassion. Damien, bleeding, shaking, looked up at Avery like she was the first real thing he'd seen in months. Then he laughed, raw and cracked, gripped the bar, and pulled his ruined body upright again. "She doesn't pity me. Good. Because I'm going to stand, walk, pin her to every surface in this penthouse, and make her pay for every second she stayed." Months bled into each other. Private jet to Switzerland for experimental treatment. Nights in the Italian villa his family kept in Tuscany. Moonlight on marble. Avery asleep on his chest, while physicians worked on his legs downstairs. Cartier boxes reappeared on her pillow, because my little wife looked sad today. A new Van Cleef bracelet every time he managed 10 unassisted steps. And the nights got darker, sweeter. When the feeling finally returned to his thighs, he didn't tell anyone. He waited until 2 a.m., until she was curled in their bed wearing one of his white shirts and nothing else. Then he rose, no wheelchair, no cane, stalked to her side of the bed, and flipped her onto her back that Avery's eyes flew open, breath catching at the sight of him towering over her, alive and whole and furious with desire. "Damien?" "Sure." He pinned her wrists above her head with one hand, the other sliding up her thigh hard enough to leave marks. 2 years, baby girl. 2 years you fed me, bathed me, slept beside a corpse. Now you're going to take everything I held back." That he kissed her like punishment, like worship. The shirt ripped, buttons pinged across the floor. Silk ties from the walk-in closet became makeshift red ropes around her wrists. His belt cracked once against the headboard in warning before looping loose around her hips, pulling her exactly where he wanted. The penthouse echoed with her gasps, his growls, the sound of expensive sheets tearing. Morning found her marked, trembling, covered in his fingerprints and his scent, while he stood at the window in nothing but low-slung sweatpants, watching the sun rise over the city he'd taken back. "That she's mine. Every scream, every tear, every shiver mine. And I'm never letting the world forget it." Later, wrapped in his arms on the private jet headed to Paris just because he felt like it, she traced the new ink over his heart, her name in elegant script. "Was it worth staying, little wife?" She smirked, sleepy and sated. "Told you." Too lazy to leave, that he tangled his fingers in her hair, yanked her head back, and bit the mark he'd left on her throat. "Good girl. Because if you ever try, I'll burn the world down to drag you home. You're pregnant with my heir now, Avery Sterling." No more running. No more choices. She laughed softly, pressed her palm to the tiny swell he'd put inside her after months of obsessive, possessive nights. Fine, Mr. CEO. But you're still carrying me everywhere. Lazy, remember? Damian Sterling, the most ruthless billionaire in New York, the obsessive alpha who'd clawed his way back from paralysis for one woman, lifted his wife into his arms and carried her toward the bedroom at 30,000 feet. Always baby girl. You're mine to spoil, mine to punish, mine to love, until the day I die. And Avery, the laziest, greediest, most adored canary in the world, finally had her cage made of diamonds. And the most dangerous man alive prepared to kill anyone who ever tried to open the door.